about Netflix, its earnings, how's it compared to other streaming services, who's the winner. Michael Collins, CEO of WinCap Financial and adjunct faculty at Endicott College. Good to see you. You heard John there talk about their earnings, a slight miss on earnings. Sounds like a slight beat on revenue, but I think the surprise comes in its new subscribers, right? They're expecting 8 or 9 million, and they got 12 or 13. Was that a surprise to you?
Yeah, there was a huge beat on subscribers, and there's a phrase on Wall Street, guidance trumps earnings. So the market's really focused on not the slight earnings miss that they had today, but the potential future growth, with the big surprise coming out of the European Union and the Middle East. They added about 3 million more subscribers than the market expected. So that was the big surprise in the subscriber count.
Remember when Netflix changed their model, or I guess added to their model, where you'd have pay a smaller fee, but then you'd be subject to ads? Since then, the stock's been on a rocket ship forward. But just because you have more subscribers doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to have more profit. Case in point, this past earnings report. That said, is that strategy working out for them to charge a little less but collect on the ads?
Yeah, I think it will play out well for Netflix. One thing not many investors are aware of is the T-Mobile Netflix on Us program, where many subscribers got free Netflix subscriptions. They're actually going to transition all those subscribers to their ad tier over the next 12 to 18 months. So that should be very accretive to their ad service, because all these free subscribers are going to move to their ad platform.
I see. And then we had this other, which is odd, we had this huge announcement right ahead of the earnings with the WWE deal. And I've heard, I'm not a huge fan of the wrestling, but other people are, and they keep telling me how big this deal is. Help us understand, why is this such a big deal?
Yeah, Netflix believes that the WWE has been under-monetized on a global basis. While it's relatively popular here in the U.S., overseas, they think they can kind of crank out more revenue on that service. You saw maybe about a year or two ago, they had wrestling events in Saudi Arabia and other parts of the world. So I think you'll see a continuation of that. And then I think Netflix will be a better steward of that brand in terms of their streaming rights.
My jaws dropped when I saw total worldwide subscribers for Netflix is 260 million, plus or minus a few 100,000. This is a absolutely huge number. Amazon's trying to get into the game, Apple's trying to get in the game, and there's a bunch of other players as well. But it sounds like to me, and it looks like to me, that Netflix essentially is the winner.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It really just comes down to quality of content, especially as they expanded their film business over the last decade. There is some, kind of the slightly concerning news out of there. They did lose their chief of film, Scott Stuber. So they're going to be looking to replace him shortly. He left to start his own film company.
The valuation, though, of the company Netflix is certainly not cheap. A lot of good news has been priced in, at least according to experts. And you look at where the stock goes from here, at least what the company does from here. There's only so many subscribers out there. I suppose you can get the whole world to be subscribers, or you could potentially raise prices, which they tried that last time, and there was quite the reaction over it. What's next for the company?
Yeah, you mentioned the WWE deal. I think that's a preview of what's to come. They're describing that as like sports adjacent and sports entertainment, that they're not really getting into live sports. But Netflix has said stuff like that before, then turned it around. There's also other opportunities in live entertainment. We saw earlier last year, people spent about $30 million to rent a Taylor Swift concert. Could Netflix turn and do live entertainment with comedians or concerts and charge a pay-per-view fee for that, effectively raising average revenue per user without raising monthly prices? They did say in their quarterly letter that there's still a focus on average revenue per member, and they expect that to continue to go up. And I think this is one of the levers that they can pull to do that. In addition to the Monday Night Raw, they also get access to the pay-per-view rights to all their special events, which again, on its head, isn't the biggest deal for just WWE, but it's what else can they put into that monetization category.
Where does that put their other competitors? I mean, the Hulus and Amazons and the Apples of the world. Then you still have the YouTubes, which has plenty of content on there, and then a bunch of sort of second or third tier streaming platforms like, say, Paramount. It's got to be hard for them because you can't have all these subscriptions, right? At some point, and we've seen this in statistics, is you get overwhelmed by these subscriptions and you end up canceling one or two. And Disney, you know, as great as Disney is from their branding standpoint, they've struggled as well.
Yeah, I mean, if you've ever watched Disney Plus, the volume of content, especially new content, is pretty limited compared to what you see on Netflix. So I think that's where they can really excel. You know, also they have tremendous cash flow growth. They generated 1.5 billion of cash flow versus expectations of 1.25. They plan on spending $17 billion a year on programming going forward, with expansion into live events fitting into that budget. So I think if they put on something that's a little differentiated, that is going to help them. I mean, Hulu is a great service, but it's, you know, 4 to 5 times the cost of Netflix. So, you know, I think there's opportunity for Netflix to grow and be of value to consumers. Even with the price increases that they had before, you know, people push back and you hear people complain on social media, but, you know, the cancellations weren't that material and a lot of the subscriptions ended up coming back. And then you have this password sharing issue, which seems to have generated more users in the US.
Yeah, I think, I won't say who, but you should not share passwords. Michael Collins, thanks for joining us on this fun topic with Netflix. Thank you. Next.